What's up, everybody? It's Uncle Jude. It's a Tuesday morning. I'm sitting in my patio. It's the month of October, and the birds are absolutely beautiful. I call this my corner of the world, or the corner of the earth. It's from a track from Jamiroquai, where he sings about this corner of the earth. He's like me in many ways. I can sit for hours and I can be amazed by the sounds and the visuals that I see in this corner of the world. It reminds me so much of back home, cycads around me, birds, hadidas, beautiful sounds. I'm actually in Boxburg, and the corner that I live in, I can literally hear the sea breeze in the trees. So sometimes we sit in our patio and pretend we somewhere in maybe Preston or Parkreni or Pennington Beach, somewhere down in the coast. And I love this spot of mine. Maybe you got a spot in your place that you'd like to sit, and you just like to sit and just like to reminisce about back in the day. I find myself going back in time a lot of late, researching, looking up things of the past, trying to find and make sense of where we come from as human beings. But today I want to share my journey and my experience with cancer. Dillo, you've been prompting me to talk about this, so brother, this one is for you. Dillo is my best man. He's my best man, and I'll explain that to you sometime. Why is it important to choose the right best man and to have the right best man? So Dillo, my best man, this one is for you, my man. I just to give you a bit of history, my maternal side of the family has been traumatized by the disease of cancer. My mom passed on a few years back, and she succumbed to lung cancer. And the funny thing is, she didn't light a smoke in her entire existence, as far as I know. And the crazy thing is, she passed on with cancer 2 weeks before my daughter Jade was born, my firstborn. Hence, we've given Jade her second name, my mom's name, which is registered as Devaki. So my mom passed on in 2005, and prior to that, my mom's aunt, her mother's sister, took her life many years prior to that because of cancer. She couldn't bear the pain, and I would think back then treatment wasn't as efficient and as easy to come by as it is today. But we've had a history of cancer patients and cancer sufferers within my family. And I'm sure you can relate to this as well. Down the line, those of you that have or are suffering with cancer probably have either got it from the gene pool that you're in. I was, when I was told I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer, I was told by the surgeon back then that it came down my maternal genes. So it was something that really intrigued me at the time. But anyway, let me tell you about my story and how I have, where I am now in my life, and how I've been able to come to where I am right now in terms of understanding this disease. And so in 2008, I used to work for one of the major banks in South Africa, and I was very active in my life at the time. 2008, and Narissa and I were married for a year and a half, 2 years, and we were happily married. We had two beautiful young kids. I was into motorcycling. I had a R6, a Yamaha R6. I am still a Rossi fan, so Yami just attracted me. So I bought myself a R6. I always wanted to ride a motorcycle. I used to watch Uncle Maraj, the man that fathered the men that started the Rising Sun newspaper. We were literally neighbors. He used to ride to the shop with his bike, with his grandchildren as pillion, and we used to look at him while sitting at Casey's Cafe and watch him coming along and looking at the bike. So it was one of my dreams that I wrote down, and I eventually managed to get myself a super bike. Life was good. I was successful in my job as a manager or team leader at the time, and I developed a lump on the side of my neck, on the left hand side, right here. So it started to protrude, and I was very uncomfortable at the time. I was really into getting size in terms of bodybuilding at the time. Nothing was stopping me. Narissa was supporting me, my meals, my prep, everything was on point. And I developed this lump, and I was a bit concerned. It was abnormal. It had no pain. It had no... it just had no pain. Yeah, didn't affect me of some sort. It just looked very unsightly. And I decided to go to my GP, and he referred me to a physician in Benoni. When I got to the physician, he ran a few tests, and he advised me to please, we need to get this removed and we need to get it tested. Immediately or instantaneously, I would think, even when the lump started to form, I had some sort of inclination that it could be cancer. Because of my mom suffering with cancer. And I say suffering because she did suffer right till the end, without any treatment of any sort. And I eventually managed to get this protrusion removed surgically. It wasn't a long operation. It was pretty short, but it was quite an intense spot that the operation, or sensitive spot rather, that the operation was done at, because it was very visible. And the funny thing is, the only thing I could think about was, how am I going to put on my bike jacket on and with my helmet, and in winter you got to put a scarf on. So that would have bothered me, because I had staples put on the wound. But anyway, you'll understand why I'm telling you that. And I had the operation done. 2 weeks later, doctor called me at work. I went to work with my motorcycle. Narissa was working in Kempton. She went to work as well. The kids were at school, and Dr. Kuri called me, and he said he needs to see me within the next hour, if possible. And I said, Doctor, I'll be there in 15 minutes. Now, I was working in Randburg, Cresta, that end of the world. My offices were there, and Benoni was approximately, I would say, plus minus 50 k's away from Cresta. and told my supervisor or manager at the time that, listen, I need to go. My doctor needs to see me, and he needs to give me my results of the test from the protrusion or the lump on the side of my neck. When the doctor called me, I didn't hesitate to be able to go to him. I didn't hesitate at all. I didn't have a negative thought. I didn't have a thought that, oh, I'm going to hear the bad news. Not at all. Jumped on my motorcycle, got my backpack on, laptop in my bag, jacket on, put a scarf, double scarf around the staples that were on the side of my neck, helmet on the bike. 15 minutes from Cresta to Benoni, Glenwood Suites, and it was an awesome ride. It was an awesome ride. I think I clocked about 275 kilometers per hour on the N17, and I'm not proud to say this, but it was super cool and exciting. I flew through the toll gate on the N17 without paying because I knew it was out of desperation. Some of the bikers knew some of the tolls used to be, it never had a boom, so you could fly right through. So at that specific time, when I was riding on the N17, there was no boom gate or boom at the toll gate, and I flew right through. I think I must have, just after the toll, I lost complete power in the motorcycle for some reason, and I need to be there. Had a nail in my back tire. Pulled over to the side. Another biker stopped with his BMW motorcycle, took out a plug, took out a patch, put it on. Within minutes, I was back on the road. Tire pumped, clocking 200 plus again with the plug in. Very irresponsible, but you only live once. Listen, if cancer's not going to take you, motorcycle is going to take me. But anyway, got to Dr. Curry in his suites, and then I got into his office, and he says, "Hi, Mr. Manuel, come and sit." The normal greeting and gentle talk, calm before the storm. And when he sat me down and he says, "Listen, how did you come here? How did you manage to come so quick?" I said, "Doc, I was on my motorcycle from work. My wife's at work." And he says, "Are you crazy doing those speeds on your motorcycle with staples on the side of your neck?" At the time, I was living my life. I still do, but I started to do whatever I wanted to do, accepting who I was and not being afraid of anything. We lived our lives always being afraid of something or someone or something that affected us. And I was at that stage where I just gave a damn. Listen, let's clock it. Doctor told me that, listen, do you need to call your wife to come and sit with you? Where is she? I said, "Doc, listen, if whatever you need to tell me, you need to tell me. This is my body. It's affecting me as much as my wife is my everything. You need to tell me as it is. Lay it down on the table." I was prepared for it. And quite frankly, when I sat down on the chair, although I wasn't fazed when he called me, as I said earlier on, when I sat down on the chair when he was almost ready to tell me the diagnosis, I almost accepted a positive feedback in terms of I would be, I have cancer. I prepared myself mentally, because the history of cancer maternally was there, right? And the chances of me being positively diagnosed was of high percentage. So I sat down and prepared myself mentally for the worst. And doctor said, "Listen, you have cancer of the thyroid." Uh, Immediately, I think I must have smiled inside of me. I didn't smile externally. I just said, I can't remember how I reacted really. I think I was just bland, uh, motionless or emotionless rather. But inside of me, I had a bit of a smile. And I'll tell you why. My mom had thyroid issues. Although she passed on with lung cancer, she had thyroid issues in, I think it must have been 1983, 1982. We were still living in Chatsworth, Unit 6. She had to go to R.K. Khan's hospital to have an operation on her thyroid. And she had a scar for years until she passed on that she had from that surgery. I have the same scar, but anyway, I'll discuss that later. Then inside of me, when the doctor told me thyroid cancer or cancer of the thyroid, it was almost as if I carried something from my mom. And as if she passed on the baton to me to carry. Because at the point in time, I had become a very strong individual, physically and mentally and emotionally. So that's internal smile. I don't know. It was really, really uncanny. But anyway, doctor explained to me that I have cancer of the thyroid and I need to now see an oncologist and get further treatment done and blah, blah, blah. Stepped out of the office, jumped onto my motorcycle, ready to leave. So what do you do now? Do you call wifey? Do you call dad down in Durban? Who do you call? Mom was already gone into the next life. I called Larissa because she's my queen and she needed to know first before anybody else. And being Larissa that she is, immediately broke down over the phone. I think that was a stupid decision of me to make, to call her then. I should have waited for her to come home, but it's just sometimes I can't wait to tell her things. I can't wait to come home. I'd rather just call her there immediately and tell her. So I did. And she broke down and it was, I could hear the trauma in her voice. And she asked me if she needed to come fetch me. I said, no, I'll meet you at home with a bike. And she was upset with me because I was still on my bike. I didn't go home and fetch my bakkie. And I cut the call. I put the phone down. I said, I'll get you at home. On my way home, riding from Benoni to Boksburg, I took an easy ride. It's not far. But the thoughts that went through my head from Benoni to Boksburg on my motorcycle was so confusing that I just wanted to get home. I'm not sure whether I was in fear. I'm not sure whether I was shocked. I really can't remember. I just remember blanking out, jumping on my bike and just enjoying the ride, enjoying the freedom. And if something had to happen to me there on my bike, I would have been satisfied, really, instead of going through the rigmarole of whatever treatment that was going to be done to me. But it was, I got home and yes, the normal thing, you got to explain to everybody and this, that and the other. When I spoke to Narissa and explained to her everything, it was very strange for her because she couldn't understand how I was managing to absorb all of this. How I managed to compose myself. Looking back at how my mom and how many people that are diagnosed react to cancer negatively. I thought that if I had to do that with young kids and a young wife, how are they going to react to the way I react? So it was an immediate reaction to me to think positively and to be able to look at this as something out of a National Geographic book. I immediately changed my mind and blocked out any negative thought and just filled it with positivity. Embraced my children more, embraced my wife more. And it was an absolute transition from being a general negative individual to completely positive, knowing that I have been diagnosed with cancer of the thyroid, and that now I had to go for several operations, and I'm going to be subjected to radiation and chemotherapy. The only way I felt fit at the time to deal with it was to change this here. My mind, my head, how I thought, how I think. I wasn't going to let what my mom went through and how she dealt with it and how it affected us as children and family. I wasn't going to allow myself to do the same. So I wasn't going to allow my children to be negatively affected, and wasn't going to allow my wife to be negatively affected. I didn't accept death. I said no to death. I remember my mom always saying that cancer was a death wish. I remember that movie, Charles Bronson, Death Wish, 1, 2, 3. She said cancer was a death wish. I took that note from her and I turned it around and I wished myself better. I thought myself better. And that's when the real journey began. When I decided to change the way I accepted the disease and how I was going to utilize it and how I was going to work with the disease as opposed to the disease working me. I wasn't going to accept death. I wasn't going to accept being a cabbage. I wasn't going to accept to be an invalid. I wasn't going to accept to be taken care of by somebody else because of pride as a man, right? I wasn't going to accept to die. No. I said no. That's where the real journey began. When I said no to cancer. When I said no to cancer defeating me. I am a winner. I was born a winner. Damn. I won the first race. That's why I'm here. I wasn't going to let it defeat me. Well, I'm going to share more of the cancer journey with you some other time. Blessing is busy with the weed eater around the corner. It's really buzzing and I'm sure you can hear that. So I'm going to cut it a bit short for now. But ladies and gentlemen, it's a journey that has brought such change to my life and the life of my family that I want you to take something small from it to see how it will be able to change your life in some way or the other. If you've been suffering with cancer, have family suffering with cancer, if you have suffered with cancer, if you know of anybody suffering with cancer, how to deal with it. Maybe one of my words or one of the phrases or something of my thought that I explained to you will be able to help you to cope. Till next time, until the next episode of this great journey, gotta love you and leave you. Peace out.